Hey guys, Traveling Kimchi here, and this is the second video in what was supposed to be a two-part series, but after I got done filming and I started editing this second video, I realized how long it was, so I am making it into a three-part series, so definitely look for the third video sometime this week. So like I was talking about in the first video, this will be discussing basically some of the practices or traditions you might see in a more modern Korean funeral. So something you might see in Seoul or Busan, things like that. If you are attending a funeral in a more rural area that is more in keeping with traditional Korean customs, I have a video that I linked in part 1. I will link it here again. And this basically shows, it doesn't explain anything, but it shows the beginning to the end of a super traditional Korean funeral. So if you are attending something like that, it is definitely a cool, really informative video to check out. Well, not informative, but visually informative video to check out. And if you're just really into Korean customs, it might be a really interesting video for you to check out too. Picking up right where we left off on the first video, we were talking about once you enter the mourning room and you honor the picture of the deceased by bowing or lighting an incense, things like that. Going right off of that, if you are going to the funeral of someone younger than you, so maybe I'm attending the funeral of a young family member that passed away or something like that, basically kind of the rule of thumb is if you wouldn't bow to them when greeting them when they were alive, so for example, when I go babysit my nephew, I'm not going to be like, oh, nephew, annyeonghaseyo, bow. Like, I'm not going to do that. If I go see my grandmother, however, I'm like, oh, halmoni, annyeonghaseyo. You bow. So basically, if you wouldn't bow to them while they were alive, you don't bow to them when they're the deceased. If it's a mutual friend, however, maybe that your friend is like a year younger than you, because your friends, like in your relationship with them, you still would bow, So it kind of comes down to that, like how would you greet them when they were alive? So after you pay your respects to the picture of the deceased, basically the family will be on one side of the room. My family was on the right side of the room. You would mirror what you just did. So some people, like I said, because of their religion, they don't like bowing because Christianity says not to and things like that. So sometimes basically you can approach them, you can shake hands, or you can bow. A couple of times when I was there, I saw people do the full one time, not twice, one time full bow to the floor, up, and then half bow. Whatever you do is going to be mirrored by the family. So if I did a 90 degree bow, the family's going to do a 90 degree bow with me. If I do one full bow to the floor, the family's going to do a one full bow back to me. So it's just kind of like a mutual respect thing. If you go up and hug them, they're going to hug you back, So basically after you show your respects to the picture, some kind of respects to the family. You just basically, that's your time where you say, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry for your loss. You show respect to the family, hug, shake hands, whatever your relationship is with that family, just have it reflect in what you are doing with them. After you offer your condolences to the family, you'll just walk out of the room and there will be a dining hall right there. So when I'm talking about these spaces, taking off your shoes, signing the guest book, the morning room, the dining room, they're all kind of in one space. It's kind of like a slightly divided studio apartment. I don't know how to describe it, but the morning room is just basically 3 walls and a whole wall is missing. So it's very open and it flows right into the dining room. So you don't walk in out and into a separate area. Basically, you're still all together in the same space. So once you get done giving your condolences to the family, you'll just walk right out and there'll be a dining room there, and basically here they'll serve you some food, such as, it usually consists of rice, a soup, and a bunch of side dishes. So at my grandmother's funeral we had rice, radish soup, and of course kimchi, fish, a bunch of side dishes, and of course, being Korean and all, there is usually an abundance of alcohol available. We had light and of course soju, the staple alcohol of Korea. Basically, this is to thank you for coming and encourage you to stay and keep the family and the spirit company. It's again going with that idea of the family staying in the room. You're not supposed to leave the spirit alone and things like that. And also you stay and you drink with the family or the friends of the deceased. Kind of it goes from being really sad to slightly festive, I guess. And that depends on what time of the day you might be attending the funeral too. Of course, in the morning time, in the mid-afternoon, it's not quite that feeling. It's a little bit more somber, but more towards the night, I felt like once people gave their condolences and went into the dining room, it was very much like, ha ha, remember that time when we blah 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 with so and so, and you know, people were of course drinking more because it was the end of the day and they had to go to work and stuff like that. So it was much more of a festive mood. Last note about the dining room. The family is kind of expected to maintain the dining room. So you're a new guest, you gave your condolences, you came in, the family will get your rice, your soup, your side dishes, your drinks, things like that. If you want more rice, they'll come in, hey, you want more rice? They'll get it for you, kind of like a restaurant, I guess. And when you're done offering, giving some words, and you go home, the family will, you know, pick up after you. They, you know, wash the dishes, they clean off the table, throw away the trash, things like that. So if you are a close member of the family or the deceased, it's kind of, I guess, a good gesture to stay and help the family maintain that dining room area. So basically kind of being a waiter, waitress kind of thing, you know, helping give the food out, helping cleaning up, you know, just helping the family maintain the dining room. One last note about day 2, this will only apply to you if you're Korean or half Korean and you will be attending a Korean family member's funeral. When my grandmother passed away, day 2 was the day they did the body prepping. And in American culture, we don't really see this part of it. We just kind of go to the wake and we see the body in the coffin, and we just say our goodbyes there. In Korea, this was a little bit different, and I was actually really surprised about this. We were escorted from the mourning room down to the basement of the funeral building. I can't say home, but funeral building. And my grandmother was laying on the table, and she was already in her white hanbok, traditional hanbok, and basically we watched while they prepared the body because it starts right after they die, and they basically get buried within 3 days. We don't watch them put chemicals or anything. It's basically him washing her hair, him putting on makeup for her, just like prepping her for, in this case, cremation. And we watched him wash her hair and put on makeup and things like this. And it was really interesting in that I've never seen that part of a funeral before, because American culture doesn't even really have that. And it was also kind of, I guess, in an emotional sense, it was really good to see her looking well, because by the end of it, my grandmother never wears makeup. By the end of it, she looked so beautiful. It was just, you know, and through the process, you know, everyone's crying, and I guess seeing her getting ready to leave, and so that was like an emotional kind of journey in itself. Again, you'll only see this part if your family member is being buried. If you are just attending to give condolences or it's a friend, you probably won't be seeing this part. But just to, I guess, mentally prepare you that is going to happen. Don't be shocked when you walk in like, oh my god, we don't do this in America, you know. Just be prepared that is going to happen, and just go on that emotional journey and embrace it. That's all we got for part 2. Check in again next week for, I promise, the last video, part 3. I hope you guys are learning a lot. If you have any questions about anything I've been talking about in part 2, comment below and I'll do my best to answer them. Anyways, I'll see you guys next week. This is The Traveling Kimchi. Bye!